So the way we're going to do that is we're going to place a null between this one and Thor's hammer. We know that this is affecting Thor's hammer because this is the parent of the hammer. So any transform that we apply to the null is going to be reflected on Thor. But what we're going to be doing is creating an intermediate null, a second null, that's going to be parent to this one, and then it's going to be parent of this one. So the final result is going to be the same, but that way we'll have a separate null where we apply our procedural animation. Okay, let's see how that works. So if I create a null, I'm going to put it right here, and if I disconnect the hammer, holding Y and click and drag, so the hammer goes automatically back to the original position. Doesn't really matter. This is going to be just animation, hammer animate. This is the null that we're using to position. Even if I hide this null, so this null is no longer visible, is the null that I use to position the hammer. And what we're seeing right now, let me hit escape just so we don't see the gizmo. The null that you're seeing right now is the one that's going to be holding the animation. So the first null actually has the transforms for positioning and orienting the hammer. This one has absolutely no transforms. So imagine that we just add something like a movement of this going up and down, up and down, up and down, or forward or back or something like that. And what's going to happen is that's going to be happening at the place where we created, where we aligned this one. So now if I connect Thor's hammer to this one, then Thor's hammer is child of this node, which is child of that node. So if this one changes or that one changes, Thor's hammer is also going to be affected. On this one, which doesn't have any animation, we're going to right click here on the translate, just right click, go to motion effects, and let's add some noise. This window will pop up, which are the parameters for us to control the noise. Right now the hammer is gone. We don't see the hammer anywhere. And the reason for that is because the amplitude is just too high. We just want a slight movement up and down. So the amplitude is in Houdini's units, so it's meters, and 10 meters is way too much. Let's go back to 0.1. And now you can see if you move the time slider, you'll see that the hammer is kind of automatically animated. It's still a bit too strong in terms of the movement. What you can also do to make things easier, besides this window popping up, we were brought into motion effects, which is a different context. It's the chops. We're inside chops. We'll get back to that. Let just hide Iron Man for a moment so it doesn't take as long to kind of load that. And let's go to the motion effects. So this is a chop network that was automatically generated when we applied the noise to the translate. Let's go inside. So these are the parameters controlling this noise. So it's the same thing. The difference is that on this window, on this panel, we're actually seeing the graph as well. The graph that's being generated by the noise and applied to the different translating channels. You have 3 graphs here because one is for X, one is for Y, and another one is for Z. So the period is going to define how fast the noise is going to be moving. So if you increase this, it's as if you were scaling it. Okay, let's say 2.3, something like that. Roughness sharpens up the shapes and the irregularity of the noise. So if you increase this, it's going to get more spiky. If you bring it down, it's going to get a bit more soft. And I want to bring it down a bit, something like 0.25. Now let me hit play, see how this looks. Okay, so now the movement is a bit too slow, maybe too soft. So maybe the period might be 1.6 and the roughness maybe 0.4. 0.4, sorry. Something like this. Might still be a bit too much. So here on the period, I'm going to leave it at 1.8. Okay. Now, the same way we're applying this to the motion, to the translate channel of the transform, let me close this. We'll also be able to apply the same thing for the rotation. Let's go back to object level and here on the hammer animation, right click on the rotate, go to motion effects, add noise. This is also going to be applied to the motion effects network that we already had. And it's exactly the same parameters, the same default values including. On this case, the amplitude of 10 isn't bad. Let me hit play so you can see what's happening. So it's kind of rotating. It's going to give us an interesting effect. And let's just reduce a bit the roughness, 0.4. Maybe the period is a bit too high as well, a bit too small. Maybe something like this. It's going to work better. Maybe give it a bit more amplitude, 16 maybe. Yeah, I think this is going to give a nice effect. It's going to definitely look like the hammer is doing something. Might be a bit too much. I'm going to do maybe 14. Yeah, so let's close this. Let's go up. If you ever want to come back to the animation, I'll show you what you can do. Let me hit stop. So whenever you want to edit the noise that you have on your translate or the noise that you have on your rotate, you can go straight to the motion effects. And these are the noises. So this is noise hammer anim clip 1. This is the one that's actually affecting the transform. And you can see that on this node, name hammer anim T from translation. If you go to the other one, it's going to be R, Euler rotation. And if you want to access the parameters, you just access these noises. We're not going to go into chops or anything, just enough for you to be able to adjust this. If you want to see the graph, you can also just display. As in any other context, you usually have flags for displaying. In this case, you can actually display multiple at the same time. Let's have a look at the animation, the graph of the translation. For that, you go here, search for motion effects view. If you don't have it the same as before, just click the plus sign and create a motion effects view. And yeah, you can have a look, whatever is being displayed here, it's going to show the motion effects. So if I hide this, don't see anything. If I want to see the other one, here it is. If you need to kind of zoom in or to the range of the values that you have, then just hit these buttons and it will do those adjustments. Now, if we hide the nulls, we'll just be seeing, let me hide the grid as well, and we can see the result of what we have so far. So now that we have a nice motion on the hammer, I'm actually going to go to the camera, inside the camera, and I'm going to I'm going to remove the background image. This is more just for reference for the movement of the hammer for now. And the other thing that I'm going to do is we don't actually have a character holding the hammer. So instead we're going to grab the main parent of this system. Let me make it visible. So it's this one. And I'm going to switch back again to this 2 view stacked. And here I'm going to, here on this lower viewpoint, I'm going to put this on top view, spacebar 2, hit enter. I'm going to align the gizmo with the world. And I'm just going to pull this into the camera. We can also make the camera visible. And the idea will be for us to actually have this much closer to the camera so we don't actually see the handle. Let me go spacebar 1. Okay, and that way we will have the hammer and the camera. Let me turn on the grid so you can actually see it. So the camera kind of moves back. So we need to pull this back a bit further. Something like this can work. Yeah, so that way we don't need to worry about having someone holding the hammer. Now to finish this off, let me put this back into single view. And it would be nice for us to actually be able to view this in real time. When you want to watch the playback in real time, you turn this on, real time toggle. You turn it on, and when you hit play, it's going to show, if it can, at 24 frames per second in this case. But it can't because this is just too heavy. On situations like this, you will have to generate what's called a flipbook inside Houdini. And you have this little button here that does exactly that. And then I'm gonna hit flipbook, start. It's gonna go over each frame, compile it to what's called mplay, which is kind of a media player from Houdini. It's gonna load all these frames into cache, and then you can hit play and watch it in real time. So this is what we have. We'll see how this works with the effect, and later on we can just come back to this procedural animation for the hammer and tune it accordingly to the effect.